These are some of the most savage surf spots to get in and out of the water. There are obviously way more spots that are tricky to get in and out of, but I'll just keep this video to the most famous ones. Now first to Central America and to El Salvador and the famous cobbles of Punta Roca. Home now to the championship tour every year, the point here is one of the most enjoyable and rippable waves on earth. But what is often an overlooked aspect of surfing the joint is that getting in and out is at best annoying and at worst nightmarish. While the wave itself is playful and pretty forgiving, the cobbles definitely aren't. The rocks here are round and they're just covered in like a layer of slimy seaweed, I suppose. So to paddle out, especially at lower tide, you have to edge your way out across these. So you've got to obviously carefully step across the slippery rocks, and then when you get to the water's edge, you've got to do this whilst timing the oncoming rushes of white water, which is actually really tricky. You're using your spare hand to sort of steady yourself, trying to balance, watch for the waves to come, and then just when you're in that sort of ankle to knee deep water, it's obviously even trickier because you can't see where you're treading, and then you've got to watch for the waves. You know, if you do make it into the water without falling over and embarrassing yourself, when you first start paddling, you've got to paddle really shallow, sort of like that, to make sure you're sort of over the rocks and not, you know, slamming your hands on the boulders. Getting out is the same problem, but the opposite way. I find coming in a bit easier. What I do is kind of turn my board backwards so the fins are sticking out like that, and just sort of ride with the fins out so I don't catch my fins, and then just sort of paddle like that until I'm so shallow that I'm basically in ankle deep water. Stand up, try and get a good footing, and then just sort of like try and time it as I'm walking out. Then obviously if there's like a big surge, I have to kind of like jump back into it. Next up is Rocky Point in the Canary Islands, specifically on the island of Fuerteventura. Whilst most spot entries in the Canaries are pretty savage, you know, it's all that like jagged, sharp volcanic rock, this one in Corileco is horrible. And this is a weird one because the wave itself most days is just like a normal playful reef. It's actually where they do a lot of surf lessons. It's very crowded, it's like the main wave in town, so it's really easy to surf. But the reef underneath is savage, especially at low tide. You've kind of got this 100-odd meter area of exposed reef that you have to walk over. It's not sharp as in it's like live coral or anything, but it's just this really jagged lava rock with holes in it, and it's an absolute nightmare to walk over. It's the only place in the world where I've considered actually wearing reef boots. At high tide you can just sort of wade out a little bit and paddle, it's a lot easier. At low tide you've got to walk over this horrible like dry lava rock. You can paddle around, which is really, really long, but to be honest, the reef is so horrible that I'd way rather actually paddle round for this one. And then when you get in the water, you can't really see where you're walking, so you've got to lean on your board and carefully edge your way out. And then obviously jump on and paddle, but yeah, it's a horrible bit of reef. I'm very surprised that beginner surfers surf out there because the reef's so savage. Now, Lennox Head is an iconic right-hand point in New South Wales on the east coast of Australia. You know, famous wave, on its day, flawless right-hander with sections for tubes and turns. But getting in and out is really, really tricky. There's actually an Instagram account dedicated to getting in and out of this spot. It's called Lennox Rocks. It's a pretty funny account to check out. It's literally just an account full of videos of people trying to paddle out at Lennox. It's pretty funny. Yeah, and it's just the same thing, kind of like Punta Roca. It's super, super slippery, like round boulder rocks that you have to walk over to get in. Near the water's edge, they're obviously really, really slippy, so you just have to be super careful, try and use your hands and, you know, go really low and try and time it with the surges as well. Otherwise you don't want to end up looking like some of these guys in these videos. You know, these like boulder points, they're not necessarily like dangerous jumping in and out, it's more just like really annoying, and if you fall it's a pretty embarrassing entry into the lineup. Ours in Sydney is like the Bra Boys wave, you know, breaks off Cape Solander, super, super heavy slab that breaks perilously close to the rocks. For years they didn't think it was actually surfable. I think bodyboarders surfed it first. the Bra Boys came and like took over, said this break is ours now, and started surfing it. That's actually how the break got its name. You basically got to jump off the rocks into an oncoming wave, so it's not so far to jump down, but your timing's got to be perfect. You know, there's been so many people that have got flogged jumping into those waves and getting washed into the rocks. Obviously the wave's so dangerous in itself, but like getting in and out looks savage. I have no idea how people actually get out there. I guess paddle a bit further down and climb up and out of the rocks. And then once you actually get into the lineup, you've just got one of the heaviest waves out there to contend with that breaks just a few meters from the rocks. You've got savage backwash, intense local crowd. Next is one of the world's most famous breaks on Bali's Bukit Peninsula, Uluwatu. Now, Uluwatu, yeah, it's a very, very famous break. It still surprises me that people who can't really surf actually surf at Ulus, purely because of the reef. I mean, when the wave's small, it's obviously like quite mellow and quite easy. But the reef is savage, you know, super, super sharp. At low tide, you've got to walk over all of it. At high tide, you can just paddle, so it's a bit easier. But yeah, sort of mid to low tide, you've got to sort of wade across this sharp coral reef, super sharp, horrible underfoot. And then when you enter the water, you're obviously going from like ankle to knee deep water, wading over these corals. But yeah, that's a list of some high profile spots that are some of the most like savage, in my opinion, to get in and out of. Fun little video. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.